Welcome back. This time around we'll be learning how to use the parent that will put on scenes. So there are several parents that we can put on a scene. Some of them are called layouts. And when we are talking about layouts, the layouts are located in the javafx.scene.layouts package. Alright? Every layout that we want to talk about here are located in the javafx.scene.layouts package. Alright? So although the other time we used one layout, we call it FlowPane. It's a layout, it's a container too. Alright? It can be used to contain every other component, every other JavaFX component. Alright? So here we will take a look at how to deal with some of them. Virtually all of them have one or two properties that are common to them, but there are differences. There are properties that are specific to some of them. For example, this FlowPane. The FlowPane is a layout. It's a container that is capable of placing its components. It is capable of containing one or more components by placing them according to the alignment that is set. Alright? So the default alignment that we have for a FlowPane is the top left. Alright? Top left alignment. So when you place a component on a FlowPane, it aligns it at the top left. Alright? So you see the component at the top left corner of the stage. Alright? Of the pane rather. So FlowPane is just like the name. It makes the its contents, it makes them behave as if it is a fluid container. When, according to the size of the stage, according to the size of the FlowPane itself. So when you add many components to it, it places them side by side. So such that when the first row fulls, other components that will come behind will come through the second row. They'll form another row and then start like that. So when the size changes again, it tries to align the components. It tries to make them fit into the stage. I mean itself. All right. So this FlowPane, how do we deal with it? So FlowPane can be created with the method can be created with no parameter at all, and there is one that you create with two parameters, specifying the spacing, the horizontal spacing, that is the gap horizontally, and the vertical gap. All right. So this is a FlowPane. This is how to create a FlowPane. The first way, without specifying any parameter. Another way, specifying two parameters, one being the horizontal gap, the other being the vertical gap. Alright? So that is that about FlowPane. Another way of creating a FlowPane is to provide as many components as you want to put on it at the stage of creation. Alright? So if I have components that I want to put, the component can be a layout as well. It can be a control, which can be a button, a label, a text field, and so on. Alright? It can be checkbox, radio button, and so on. So those components that I want to put on this particular FlowPane, I can start putting them from here. Alright? So if I have created a component, for example, a label before, so I'll just come here and say label. A label is a control. So, and all controls, they are located inside the javafx.scene.control package. Alright? So a label is a control. So I will import javafx.scene.control.label class. Alright? So I'll call it label. Just call it a label, and a label contains only text. Alright? It can contain text and some graphics, some images. Alright, so I can place a label. Primarily a label is used for displaying text, control text. Alright, so let's call it label. Label is here. All right. So if I want to put this label on this FlowPane now, the label will be placed, can be placed from here. So I'll just specify the name. So this is one way. Another way is just to do what? Just come here, FlowPane, the object of that container, then get the children, call the method get children. This children method will return a list of children already on the FlowPane, but currently there is no child at all. So but even if there is child or there is no child, we still have to call the get children method. So this one will return the list of the children on the FlowPane. So this FlowPane, I can add new nodes to it, new child, new control, new container, new content generally to it by calling this add method. This add method can take only one parameter at a time. So if I want to add many content at a time, I'll call the method add all instead. All right, this add all method can contain an infinite list of contents, all right, of components. So it can contain, except the components we are talking about here are every other component except from a stage and a scene. All right, so those are the only things we cannot put here, but every other thing can be added as content of this particular layout, which is FlowPane that we are talking about. The same thing applies to other layouts. You can add any content, any component on them, but not stage and scenes. All right, so that is it. Now I can say get children.add label here. All right, so it's pretty much the same way as, since I already have this label defined before my creation, I can just put it here instead of having to declare a separate line to do that for me. All right, so that is pretty much what we have. So if we have another control, which is a button this time around, this button, the button we'll be using with JavaFX component will be the JavaFX.scene.control.button. All right, the one located in the JavaFX.scene.layout package. All right, so we'll say the button, the JavaFX.scene.control. So let's call it a name, JavaFX button is equal to new what button. So pretty simple. It's just very straightforward. Just put a name, put the text. The button will be carrying. This is a button. Now if I show this stage, I'll have two things on my FlowPane now. I'll have the label and the button placed side by side at the top, starting from the top left corner of my stage. All right, so that is what I have here. Now let me run my program. This is what I have. So look at it. We have a label, which is this label I just created, and I have a button as well. There's the button. So this is the button. All right, so this is pretty much what we want to do. So we'll just this second stage we are not going to use it, so I remove it. This other stage as well, let me remove it so that we have a clean house. All right, so this stage style, let's make it utility. Let's make it decorated so that we can have a decorated border for it. All right, the 3 buttons at a time. So now this is how to add components to a FlowPane. You can add it, like I said earlier, you can add components to this FlowPane by calling getChildren method and add all. Because I want to add as many children as I want, so that is why I'm going to. So here, apart from this third constructor, I can have another constructor, which is this, that takes at least 3 parameters. At least 3 parameters, which is, the first one is the V gap, is the H gap. The first one is the gap that will be left on the horizontal axis, that is two components beside another, how many gaps do I want? How many spaces do I want to for them to have beside one another? That is this parameter. So I give it 15, for example. The second one is the horizontal gap. That is a component that is placed on this FlowPane sitting on another component. How many spacing do I want them to have between one another? All right. So that is the second parameter. The third parameter it will be the list of components I want to put on this FlowPane. So I can do this and I can make it just 2, then come to this method add all and add all my contents. All right, so it will give me pretty much the same thing. All right, so this is the horizontal gap between this component and this component. I have a spacing which is 15 pixels, just like I have specified here, and between components sitting on one another. All right, if I reduce this place now, you see what I have it here. This particular container is a FlowPane, and that is why I am having this thing like a fluid. If it was not a FlowPane, let's say other panes, these capabilities will not be there. The component will just sit where they are placed. All right, but because this is a fluid container, it tries to fit the content on the stage according to the space, the available space that we have. All right, that is the power of a FlowPane. All right, so this is a FlowPane, and there are some other properties of FlowPane that we can talk about here as well. For example, the alignment, the horizontal gap, the V gap. So let's set the alignment to center. All right, alignment. So this alignment property takes a position enum, post. This post is in the JavaFX geometry class. So that is why we have javafx.geometry.post imported. All right, so there are so many alignments that we can have. We can have top left, top right, top center, bottom left, bottom right, bottom center, center left, center which is center, and center right. All right, so there are so many. So let us just use center for now, so that this positioning, this alignment means that the component, that whatever component I put on this FlowPane will be aligned to the center. It will automatically calculate the spacing, the spaces available inside the FlowPane to the left, right, bottom, and center, and then attempt to place it at the center. Whatever component I have, even if there are many, it will try to justify them in the center, to put them in the center, place them in the center, so that that position will be maintained, even if I resize my component. All right, so let's give our stage some sizes so that we will be able to see primary stage dot set size. Okay, set width. Let's set the width to, let's say, 300, and the height, primary stage dot set height. Let's set the height to something like 300 as well, so that we have a bigger page. So if we run this, we'll see that the component, the content of my FlowPane will be justified to the center. So this is what we have, center alignment. All right, so if I try to put this thing at the left, center left, or for example, it will come to the center on the vertical axis, but will be justified to the left on the horizontal axis. All right, so that is what center left means, and center right is just like the name, justified to the center on the vertical axis, and justified to the right on the horizontal axis. All right, so this is for center left. All right, so if we have center right, center right, to move to this side. All right, so no matter what I do, no matter how big the page is, no matter how small it is, it will always try to maintain that alignment. So that is one of the charms. So that is one of the biggest advantage of using a FlowPane. All right. So look at this. It is always aligned to this place. All right. So that is what we have as a FlowPane. So FlowPane has other properties as well. Other properties that we want to talk about in FlowPane is about the, apart from alignment, we can change the background of a FlowPane. All right. So the background contains three things. It contains the background color, the inset, and the radius. All right. The background color, the background paint that we can use. That is, if you want this, instead of showing white background, maybe we want it to show something like a brown or a red background, for example. So this is where we can do that. We can set the background of this paint. So background has a property, a constant empty, which is an empty background. So, but let's create a background class, a background object here. So we'll say background is equal to, background is located in the package javafx.scene.layout package. So that is why I imported this. So if you want to use background, you import the class and then apply it as necessary. All right. So we have background. So we'll say is equal to new background. New what? New background. This background takes a background fill. All right. The background fill is defined by what I said earlier. Is defined by color, insets, and radius. All right. So if we can have more than a single background fill on a background. All right. So, but let's create a single one first. We'll say background fill. Background fill. Background fill is also inside the javafx.scene.layout package. So background fill, pretty much simple. So we'll say background fill. Let's call it yellow fill. Yellow fill is equal to new background fill. All right. Background fill, new background fill. So we have it. Now the color that we want to use for the background, let's say color yellow. So here we'll be using the color class, the javafx.paint.scene.paint.color class. All right. So we'll be using yellow color, and the inset, the corner radius, let's make it empty like that, and the inset empty as well. All right. So let's create another background. Let's call it brown background. All right. Brown background. We want the yellow background to the brown background. We want it to be kind of embedded inside the yellow background, such that we have yellow, then we have brown. All right. So we'll create a new background object as well. New background fill. So this time around we want to use brown. All right. The brown color, and the corner radius as empty. Let's create a corner radius for this one. So let's call it new corner radius, radii rather, which will take the value of the radius, the curve. So let's use like 20 here, and the inset, so that it will show, we'll have something like 20. Let's use 20 as well. 20. So if we apply these two background on this two background fill on this background, we will have it shown brown background. All right. So that is what we have, background. So if I show this, let's see what we have. We have a yellow color embedded. So that is it. So this is the yellow background and this is the brown background. So we can have as many as we want. We can have a rainbow colored background. yellow, green, blue, white, like that. A list of background fields. All right. So, and this is the background, the corner radius, and the inset. The inset makes it left this from this edge to this edge. So that is the effect of the inset. If I didn't put inset, this brown background will cover the yellow background, so you won't see the yellow background at all. So that is the property of FlowPane. Other layouts have that property as well. Every other layout, they have it. Set the set background, set this, set that. All right. So we have column H alignment, which will take a H position property. The H gap can be set manually, which is this set H gap method, and it takes a double value. So this is where we are going to stop for FlowPane.